welcome to another edition of the Hawks Report. So glad that you could join us for this report this afternoon. I have with me today Coach Carlos Bosch. Coach, how are you doing after the Thanksgiving break?
So had a good, a great amount of family time. I happen to love Thanksgiving. I think it's one of my favorite holidays because we get to connect with family and eat and it's just a really nice holiday. So it's one of my favorites. So feeling great, just getting back in rhythm. Had a couple of practices coming back from Thanksgiving. So I hope yours was good.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Got to spend some time with family. And as you know, family is so very, very important. Got a few questions to ask you about the Hawks. The FHE varsity girls Hawks team played against a very tough team before going into the Thanksgiving break. That was Chatham. Chatham is known to be a well-coached team that plays well, good athletic ability. In fact, they're a very tough team. Historically, the Hawks have not done so well against Chatham. However, we saw something very different this time. Before going into Thanksgiving break in that game, the Hawks played against them extremely well. In fact, led the game most of the way, did eventually lose the game in overtime. And yet it shows a dramatic step forward for the Hawks team. What are your thoughts about the advances being made by the Hawks?
So one of the things that we're trying to do is to play savvy basketball. And as the season unfolds, we'll sort of get into which each of these letters stand for. The first one's the S stands for simplicity. So we do want to keep things simple for our players to be able to understand roles, for us to keep things simple as we move forward so that they can maximize their potential and talent and enjoy their experience. The A stands for adversity, and adversity strengthens, right? So we had to have that adversity early on, I think, to make us better. And as we did a film study on some of the things that we did well and some of the things that didn't go well, I think the team understands what we need to do better to overcome a team that's well coached and that plays good basketball. And so I don't like to lose. I sort of sit on that for a while, and it's not fun. But again, adversity strengthens, and we're going to take this as a step to move forward.
Well, I think a lot of the things you just said are outstanding, very important. You really do step up when you play against the harder teams. You learn more when you play against the more difficult teams. And sometimes it takes a loss to sharpen the team a little bit. I know that was a difficult loss because it was a game that was so very, very close. It could have gone either way. And we didn't think that would be the case last year, but it certainly is the case now. If we can play that well against Chatham, it shows me that we certainly do have an outstanding basketball team this year. But I want to ask you this question. We had that loss going into the Thanksgiving break. Then after the girls having a little bit of time off, you've got to bring them back in tune to be able to play against the South Guilford team tomorrow night. So what are your thoughts about how going into the Thanksgiving break affects the girls mentally? And what have you done over the last couple of practices to shake the cobwebs loose and get them ready for the game tomorrow night?
Actually, really good question, because South Guilford will be our first conference opponent. So there's a lot riding on this game in terms of just getting out to a good start. It's an important game for us in terms of conference, but during Thanksgiving, we got to make sure that the girls have time to be with their families and sort of decompress. And we played a lot of games before Thanksgiving. We were probably sitting at about 11 games before we actually entered the holiday. So I think it was a good time to sort of stop and just take a deep breath. And to your point, now we have to start things up again. And sometimes that takes a minute just to crank that engine back on and get it going full speed. During the practices, we sort of started a little bit slow and ramped up as the practices went. And so we're just going to have to sort of get it going. And I think we had 2 really good days of practice working on things that they're going to see in the game I'm hoping that those things translate. So I hope you'll see a team that's ready to go from the first quarter on.
I'm confident we will. I know that you and your wife do an outstanding job with the practices, taking advantage of the time that you have and using it to the best of your ability to get the girls ready. We've enjoyed a great season going into the Thanksgiving break. We had played 12 games if you count the tournament and also if you count the super scrimmage event. Counting those plus the regular season games, we went into Thanksgiving break 11-1. So that is an absolutely outstanding record. Now, we're going to play against South Guilford Homeschool tomorrow night. What are your thoughts about some of their strengths and then some of the things that your girls are going to have to do to be able to play against them?
So we played them already early on. We played them at the Oak Level tournament. They're a young team that is going to be making some noise as they come up and start learning how to play together. I think that when we played them, it was our first game together, and it was, I think, their first game also. So I don't know that you can draw a ton from that game because, as you know, when you're starting something anew, it's always a little bit, it's just that feeling out process of what we're doing and what they're doing. So I expect it to be a pretty competitive game. I don't think they're going to come out, and I think it's going to be a tough matchup for us. And so we have to execute on all levels. And but I'm excited about it. I think it's a good test, and we're certainly going to be ready with what we do.
Okay, well, what do you think about our matchup against Elkin Friday night?
So it's a high school. It's a public high school. Decent sized public high school. I think that game for us is going to be, and we're going to be playing more and more of these bigger high schools. I think we did it in the scrimmages as well. We want to measure up against everybody in the state. Yes, we're a homeschool organization, but we believe we can compete with a lot of different schools of a lot of different sizes. And so we're going to be adding these type of games to our schedule, to sort of feel out where we're at. It should be an exciting evening of basketball. The girls are looking forward to it. That game will be missing a couple of players, which unfortunately happened to be two of our seniors will be missing that game for previous commitments. So we'll go into it a little bit shorthanded, but I think that it's going to be a good test for us in terms of seeing what we're at against the decent sized public school.
Well, you definitely have some excellent starters, and they seem to be able to handle the difficulty of being on the court a long time. Their fitness level seems to be high. So I think that you'll be able to do really well Friday night. What do you think about going back to back from one game to another? A game one night, game the next night, no opportunity to practice in between.
The schedule gets a little bit hectic for us in December. We're going to have a few of those back to back night games. And so what we have to do as coaches is rely on our film, continue to send the girls things that you see on film that they can improve both as a team and individually. And so, I think we're going to have to be able to be flexible and adjust and making adjustments game to game and even quarter to quarter, minute to minute. Like we're going to have to, as a team, be ready to make adjustments as we go, because we will not have time to make the corrections in the practice between what we see at South Guilford and when we go to Elkin. But we will use the time between those games to talk to the girls. And, we're really blessed to have such a great group of kids and such a great group of athletes that they do soak it up. And from the top of the roster to bottom of the roster, however you want to look at it, whether young or old or new or whatever, everybody's plugged in and interested in how we can get better, and everybody has a role, and our job is to make sure that they're comfortable in that role. And then once they're proficient at that role, we can expand their roles as they get really proficient at it. So I think we're going to be okay.
Well, thanks so much, Coach, for joining us for another interview for the Hawks Report. And those of you that are watching the Hawks Reports, we appreciate your support, both this effort, but also especially of the team. Continue to cheer positively for your Hawks, and we're certainly proud of them, and we're proud of our coaches as well. Coach, got anything you want to add before we shut it down?
I want to thank you for all the hours of dedication to our team. You spend, I mean, what people see you doing interviews and, recording games for us and all those things that you do, that's just the tip of what you have to do, because then you have to go back and do post work, like edit and titles, and it's just hours and hours of your time and dedication. And I can't thank you enough, because it means so much to our team for you to be able to encapsulate this and to have something so special. So I want to thank you for all you do for us.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It's something I can do maybe to contribute to the team. I certainly can't coach. I don't have the knowledge that you have and the abilities you have. So this is just a way to pitch in and be a part of the team. We do love our team. Appreciate you so much, all the hard work you do. And we'll sign off for now. Thanks for watching.
I'll leave you with one last thing before we go. One of the things I've told the girls is, if we leave it in God's hands will be all over it. So this season, we kind of want to make sure that as we sign off, that we are putting this week, next week, this season, and everything in God's hands. And if it's in God's hands, He'll have His hands all over it.
Well, it certainly is the case that God always needs to be first in our lives. Thank you so much, Coach.